All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to do something really important. We're going to crack open your ACCA Financial Reporting Exam Kit. And look, we're not just going to look at it. We're going to turn it from this thing that's probably stressing you out into your single most powerful tool for passing this exam.
So let me guess. You're looking at this giant book, right? And you're just thinking, where do I even start? If that's you, don't worry. You are absolutely in the right place. We've all been there, staring at what feels like 1,000 pages of questions and just feeling that pressure build.
But here's the secret. This isn't just a book of questions. It's a blueprint for success. So today, we're going to take all that pressure and flip it on its head. We're going to turn it into pure confidence by showing you exactly how to use this kit strategically to basically weaponize it for exam day.
Okay, so here's our game plan. Super simple. First, we're going to get our heads in the right space. Then, we'll break down the exam itself, know what we're up against. After that, we'll map out a solid study plan, learn how to use every single part of this kit, and then finally, we'll run a full dress rehearsal for the big day.
All right, Section 1. Let's start with the most important thing, mindset. Look, this isn't just about cramming a bunch of information into your head. It's about learning to think like the examiner. You've got to understand the game you're playing before you can even think about making a plan to win it. Simple as that.
Okay, so our mindset's right. Now, let's get into the specifics. Let's actually look at the battlefield. Because understanding the exam structure, well, it's not just about knowing the rules. It's about finding the little cracks, the weaknesses you can actually use to your advantage.
So, think of the exam like a 3-act play. Section A, that's your rapid-fire quiz. Just boom, 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 testing your broad knowledge. Section B is where you start applying that knowledge, but in these little mini scenarios. And then you get to Section C. That's the main event. This is where they want to see deep analysis, properly structured answers. What this tells us right away is that you can't just memorize stuff. You have to know how to use what you know.
Now listen up, because this next part is a detail that can literally make or break your exam. It's a computer-based exam, and the kit is practically screaming this at you on every page. You have to get on the ACCA website and practice with the real software. I mean it. Wasting even a minute trying to figure out the buttons on exam day, that's just a recipe for disaster.
What this all means is that you basically have to be two different kinds of students on exam day. For sections A and B, you're a sprinter. It's all about speed, precision, quick recall. But the second you hit section C, you have to switch gears. You become a marathon runner, methodical, structured, showing every single step of your logic. Your revision has to train both of those muscles, not just one.
All right, so we know the terrain, we know the challenges. Now let's draw our map to get through it. The kit itself lays out this really powerful step-by-step approach, and it's designed to move you from just, studying to actively training for the exam. It's a big difference.
In this approach, it's honestly brilliant. You start by building your foundation, right? You go topic by topic. Then, you just hammer that knowledge home with practice, practice, practice. But here's where it gets interesting. The next step is to add time pressure. That's what turns what you know into what you can do. And finally, you simulate the real thing, which builds up that mental stamina you're going to need when you're actually sitting there on the day.
Look, if you forget everything else I say today, please remember this quote. The kit literally says, "The importance of question practice cannot be overemphasized." That's not just a nice piece of advice. That is the central philosophy for your entire revision. Everything else, everything is secondary to that.
So, what happens when you inevitably hit a wall on a topic? Something just isn't clicking. Well, the kit gives you a clear rescue plan. First, you retreat. Go back to the study text, get the fundamentals down again. Then you use your pocket notes for a quick technical refresh, and then you launch a targeted attack. You find every question in this kit on that one topic, and you just work through them until it becomes second nature.
Okay, so let's dig into Section 4, how to actually use this kit. And I want you to stop thinking of it as a textbook. Think of it more like an arsenal, a collection of tools. Let's look at the different weapons it gives you for this fight.
So, for starters, you've got your pure knowledge-based questions, like this one here, asking about fundamental qualitative characteristics. These are designed to test your raw memory of the conceptual framework. There's no complex story, no scenario, nowhere to hide. You either know the definition or you don't. Simple as that. And then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you get hit with complex data scenarios, like this impairment review. You get a whole table of assets, a recoverable amount, and you have to apply IAS 36 to figure out the impairment. This is all about testing your ability to take a complex accounting standard and apply it correctly to a messy, real-world set of facts.
But here's the thing that makes this kit so valuable, where it becomes so much more than just a book of questions. You don't just get the questions right, you get the full answers, with all the workings shown. You get video debriefs for some of the tougher ones, and, my favorite part, you get the actual examiner's comments, pointing out the common mistakes students make. I mean, this is pure insider intelligence on how to get marks and, more importantly, how not to lose them.
And that brings us to our final section, the last piece of the puzzle, exam day itself. Let's see how all this practice, all this planning, and all this insider intel comes together to form a winning strategy on the day. Okay, I want you to focus on this number, 50%. That's it. This number is your North Star. You are not, and I repeat, not aiming for perfection. You are aiming to prove you are competent. The entire game is about strategically picking up just over half of the marks available. That's how you pass.
So this is your exam day mantra. You need to burn this into your brain. For every single question, you need to be telling yourself, attempt all of it, stick to the time, aim for 50%. Your goal is not to be a hero and get 100% on one question. It's to be a smart strategist across the entire paper.
Look, when you start using this exam kit not just as a book of questions, but as a strategic guide, that's when everything changes. You're building the skills, you're mastering the timing, and you're building the confidence to walk into that exam hall totally prepared. You have the roadmap. You have the tools. Now you just have to walk the path.